We acknowledge and pay our respects to the Boon Wurrung and Woi Wurrung Wurundjeri peoples of the Kulin Nation people, the traditional custodians of the land on which we are virtually gathered today. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and acknowledge all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders here today.
Awesome. Well, good morning Australia. Bon dia, Portugal. Buenas tardes, Chile. Good afternoon, BC, Canada, and good evening, the Bahamas. Beyond the edge of the world, there is a place where emptiness, substance nearly overlap, where past and future form a continuous, endless loop. And hovering about, there are signs no one has ever read, chords no one has ever heard. So welcome to our listeners, welcome to our viewers. Cristina, Haley, Nuno, Nico, welcome to the Talent Punk Purposefully on the Edge edition. Just quickly, Cristina is due to join us, hopefully, but there is an internet fallout on the island in the Bahamas, so she just messaged me and will try to join us during the show. And Haley is on location in the Rocky Mountains, in the Purposeful Mountains, exactly. And she will also try to join us if she's got the reception. But let's start, and let's start with someone that is absolutely amazing. And this guy is Mr. Nuno. How are you? Microphone.
Hi there.
How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Would like to introduce you, but probably Craig, you've got something about Nuno that everyone can have a look at, and then we can introduce this amazing, talented person. Wow. So, Guinness World Record, biggest wave kite surf, 19 meters.
Yes.
Yes, that is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's quite, it was an achievement. It was super nice to be the first Portuguese guy getting a Guinness World Record at Portugal. So it was super nice, super cool.
And I'd like to start with talking a bit about your childhood in Portugal. Can you tell us a bit about that?
I grew up. I born in Porto City.
Yeah.
And then I moved to south of the city, in front of the beach. I had the luck of my parents have a beach house, and living in front of the ocean. I started to surf when I was 14 years old. I just walked to the beach and surf with some couple of friends. And then the surfing scene started to grow up with me. And then I discovered kite surfing 10 years later when I was 24 years. And so, and I never stopped. I'm already with 19 years of kite surfing on my back. So, for me, kite surfing, it's like driving a car. It's so easy. It's like
yeah, you told me that.
It's natural. It's super natural.
So, where's the passion for come from? I think you started with surfing, and
yeah, surfing was always the base of everything. When you start to go and catch good waves, and just it's like a dance. It's like a meditation when you go in the water. You just express yourself, you just relax, and it's a radical sport. You get freedom, adrenaline, and in a passion, and it stays for your life. That's for sure.
That's nice. And you told me something. Surfing is my life, and kite surfing is my job.
Yeah. You have your work well done. Yeah, I can see.
So basically, kite surfing—that's where you make money and the pleasure.
Kite surfing. started to be a business. As a business, I saw the potential of the sport when it started. I could see that it will grow on the world very easily, and it was true. They start to become a really famous sport, and I had the luck of being one of the first here in Portugal to start. And in a moment of my life, I could start to be my job. So it's really nice when you just go and work what you love. So you never will work on your life. Or how do you say? I'm in a hotel. That's why that's some complications. I'm not at home.
You're doing
a Kite clinic.
A kite clinic. You say, yeah.
Okay, they left. Okay.
There's one thing you said. I want to enjoy nature and the ocean. Is that the main objective? How did you turn that passion into?
It's very easy. Like it seems like all the problems are on land. In the minute you went to the water, everything stays behind. Of course, when you get back, you have to resolve your problems. It's not like they're going to disappear. But the ocean, for me, it's a place that you become just yourself. You don't have any problems. It's you and nature completely.
Yeah.
So it's very relaxing. It's a way. Okay, we could start another kind of talking about who you are, what people think they actually are. But I think I can discover myself more in the water than outside of that. So it's a place where you become your meditation is your concentration is so high that you feel alive. You feel completely alive. That's it.
So take us to that day, that 8 November 2017. What I'd like to explore is, for novices like me, and I guess most of the audience is like, oh well, you wake up on a day and you say, I'm going to do the world workout. But what I found out with you is there's a preparation, and there's sometimes years of preparation to do it. Can you take us to the lead of that journey and just take us a bit on the edge and what happened there?
I can say, it's like you said, usually we just saw 20 seconds of video. And for those 20 seconds, I took like 4 years to make. It was like, I don't know if people remember a really well-known photo of McNamara making a big wave in Nazaré that ran all over the world. I was there that day, and then I start to see myself on the same position but with a kite. And then realizing that, I tried to see if it was possible, because Nazaré has a huge cliff and the lighthouse. And that usually, those kind of obstacles usually kills the wind or make turbulence, or it's not very appropriated for kite surfing. So I had to figure out which kind of wind was possible to ride that wave. And it took me like 1 year, 2 years to really understand which was the best conditions. And Nazaré is not properly an easy wave. It's a really difficult wave. It is not like a reef break, where the wave breaks always the same time. It's more pitch break, so it moves a lot. So you need to understand really well that kind of spot. What happened in the first contest of big waves in Nazaré was that, for instance, for example, the Hawaiians, the first year they went there, couldn't manage to get that wave. It was so different spot than they were used to, and that's why the people, the locals, were much better in performing on those kind of contests in the beginning. Because yeah, it's very challenge wave. You need to understand the sport. So yeah, I had to make a lot of preparation. Also, like apnea and physically and mentally. I made I have a yoga instructor. I have
Nice.
and then since that time I start to increase my size of waves in Peniche, in Aguda. This is a spot nearby my home. In 2016, I made a wave like in Nazaré with about 12 meters. That I could already say was the biggest one of the world, but I knew that was perfectly possible to make big, even bigger. So I saved a bit myself to catch the right day and then to claim the biggest wave of the world. So yeah, it was 4 years of a lot of stuff.
You told me you knew you could be the champion. So from what time are you sure in your mind that you say I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna be the champion? And sorry, before you answer, there is a video clip. I invite everyone to go to YouTube to see it. And you talk about the preparation and the wind and the weather and the size of the waves in Nazaré. Because you need to explain what is Nazaré to people. It's a very special place in Portugal where they are the biggest wave in the world. And you said as well, I was just worried about that and sharks, and that's it. So
that's true.
So what were you thinking on the day? So when you start riding your kite yourself, what was in your mind?
No, my first feeling when I wake up that day, the forecast was great. So everything was settled. I had my partner, my jet ski partner, ready also. Everything. I try not to watch too much time the ocean, the waves, because it's like jumping in an airplane. The more you look down, the worse it is. So I just prepare myself, and I usually when when Nazaré is too big, I usually go 1 kilometer up the beach so we can go out more easily, because the waves are much smaller, like 5 to 6 meters, so it's easier to go out. And so I pumped my kite. I went out. I had everything coordinated with my partner. Then when I reached the spot, there was plenty of guys towing in. There was Rodrigo Costa that broke the world record of surfing on that day. There was Maya Gavera. Many people know her. She just increased her title also. She's a world record also. And there was people like Ross Clark Jones and some new guys that often go there. And they were looking at me like, who's this guy? And like, what the fuck he's doing here? So, but I noticed that there was no problem, because usually when you go to kite, it's very annoying for surfers, because you have 20 meters of lines, you occupy a lot of space. It seems like you are invading a little bit space of those guys. But in Nazaré, doesn't happen, because the minute the set comes, the waves have the same size as your lines. Like normally you have 20 meters of lines, and when the waves come, the size is the same. So you immediately feel like a small ant on that scenario. So you're not bothering anybody, because everything's so giant, you become really little. So that's it, your first impression. And so was that. Then I start to be to position myself on waves. Then I made the jump that went viral on internet. That for me, that jump was something that I wanted to do since 2016, since I made big waves there. But it was also mentally was very nice because I start to become more confident about today. I feel more relaxed and that everything was okay. My gear, the kite was responding well. I was feeling super great. And then I started to do some waves. I done the biggest one. Then I caught another one more in the second to third peak because Nazaré has 3 peaks. But that one was more in shoulder. And then, cool. When I went out, only like 10 minutes after, I start to realize what had happened. Things start to go, to understand what you just done, and it's quite crazy.
Wow. And final question, but what is the hardest? Is it to go up the wave or is it to ride the wave?
Ride down.
Ride down?
Ride down, you can do any mistake. Can do any mistake because usually when you see people doing waves in Nazaré, they always go left because going left on the wave makes you go to the beach. And when you do waves to the right, you're going to the cliff, going to the rocks. So you can do any mistake. And that's the only way you can do a wave in kite surfing in Nazaré with that kind of wind. So when you do that wave, you cannot do any mistake. When you jump on the wave, then you can fall. I have a footage from this past season from Team Bonathan, and I fall. I made a big jump, but I made a jump so big I went to another wave. I crashed another wave. So you have to see it. You just see on my Instagram. Yeah, and that's true.
I invite everyone to see how you do skateboarding as well with the sandboard.
Yeah.
You say it's like driving a car. Yeah, right. Yeah, mate. It's driving a car. Cool. Hey, I will see you in the second part because we're gonna have a second part where we bring the guests together and we'll have some questions as well from the audience and people. Stay tuned. And finally, so thanks, Nuno. You stay with us.
Okay, sure.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And finally, Cristina managed to join us from the Bahamas. So, Cristina, how are you? And our internet connection is back there?
It just came back up as I was desperately trying to come through the phone. But most likely crashed everywhere because when I called the technician, it says 70 minutes wait. It means everybody was calling in.
I think it's Craig who called the governor of the island and said, mate, put yourself together. We've got Cristina on the show and we're in Australia, we're live. And thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I'm just gonna mention a couple of things, and then we're gonna see a quick things on you, so that we remind people who you are. But shark expert, conservationist, ocean and cave explorer, women divers Hall of Fame, and plenty of other things. Craig, take it away, and I'll see you in 20 seconds. Also. So where do we start? I think what I would like to start with you, Cristina, is about your childhood, because you were born in Congo, is that?
I was born in Italy. I grew up in the Congo. Yeah. I followed my family as a toddler in the Congo, and I was there till a teenage time.
But you told me something about Africa and the Congo that I think will influence as well the way you think and the way you see the world. You say people had a unique view and connection with wildlife. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Well, I grew up between the savannah. I was in the middle of the savannah in the Kalonda Kikwit, and then we moved into the rainforest of the Republic of Congo. We were right in the middle of the rainforest. And so on a day-to-day basis, you had black mambas, green mambas, crocodiles, silverbacks. And the concept was that you had to find a way to coexist with the animals. The animals were there for a reason, or sometimes they were there for be used for food, but there was not this attitude that they had to eliminate everything in order to make space for themselves. So there's an example, there's a type of ants that comes in and eats everything. I mean, they're flesh-eating ants. And one of the concepts is the village basically vacates the entire village. They just pick up, as the ants swarm through, they pick up and move out. And they don't try to destroy the ants. They're like, no, they'll just clean everything for us. And once the ants are gone through, they move back in. So I grew up with this concept of, yes, there are animals that are extremely dangerous. No, we shouldn't just kill everything to make everything safe.
Fair enough. And so your father has been an influence for you in your life, I think, particularly with diving.
Yes, my dad was a ex-military diver in our special forces in Italy. So I grew up, one with these images of him on this special gear, breather, oxygen, but then with the stories of what he had experienced in the Mediterranean. And then with the fact that basically he and my mom took me to the ocean, wherever there was a body of water, lake, ocean, river, they always took me to the water. And the influence was they taught me very much about the water as an element to respect quite a lot. I'm pretty sure Nuno here knows that very well. It is a tremendous power and is extremely dangerous. And so they were not instilling just fear. They were just instilling knowledge and respect, but then also like the marvel what's on the water. So I grew up with fins and mask and snorkel. Every time I could, I would just jump in the water.
And you moved to the Bahamas, so that was 25 years ago.
26 years ago, I moved to the Bahamas.
Oh, 26. I thought, so why the Bahamas? Why did you move there?
It was a series of coincidences between, I went to a travel agency in Italy. I wanted to become a scuba diver, certified scuba diver. I was told in Italy that it was not really good for women. It was not, it's not really a women's sport. If you need to understand, I'm 49. So back then was just a different mental attitude. And I ended up in the Bahamas because the travel agency didn't have any of the destinations I wanted available. So they proposed the Bahamas. I ended up here and on my first dive. And from there on, not only everybody or most people, if you don't know, just Google clear water of the Bahamas to see kind of visibility we experienced, but there were sharks. There were sharks everywhere. And I had this childhood dream to become an underwater scuba ranger who would have sharks for friends. And I decided to stay to do a year of diving and literally get diving out of my system and then go home and go back to my real job. But,
And what happened?
2 months into what I was, 2 months. Yeah, I fell in love with everything. The island above the water, the island below the water, under the island, because then I've discovered cave diving. Yeah. So. And
that's the connection, and I'd like to explore with you is really that three concept of exploration, education, and conservation, and how you went there and to that conservation piece. The shark, ocean, and the connection between the shark, the ocean, and the mangroves. Can you take us through that journey? And then we'll talk probably about the famous people that you had recently. But more your connection with shark and the connection with nature, and that education piece.
So the three words that I picked, exploration, education, conservation, started and it's basically the same progress that I had through my life. Exploration. when I started doing this, I was just trying to do as much as I could and as I experienced as much as I could. I think we're explorers by nature. We're curious. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here doing what we do. And so in the exploration, you discover all these things, or you notice all these things, all these behaviors or the caves, whatever it is. And then comes the education. You want to learn more. So you start learning for yourself. And as you learn for yourself, you also discover other things, maybe like sharks are in danger, or the freshwater supply is limited, or whatever it is that expands. So exploration brings it into this universe. We start learning about it, and then you start thinking, well, I really want to protect this, because as you explore it, learn about it, fall in love with it, like anything you love, you want to make sure that it stays. And so comes into the conservation, which then goes back to the education. It's like, well, in order for other people to want to protect what I want to protect, they need to know about it, they need to understand it, and they need to kind of like at least a little bit fall in love with it, or at least appreciate it. And so that's what the three things, how they expanded. If you think about it, if you cast a stone, when I came here, you threw a stone in the water. I came here, it was ploop, it was all about me. It was me diving with the sharks, me cave diving, me diving out of my system. And then it went, oh, wow, but what about this world around me? It's like, oh, I need to know about this. And it's, oh, well, how do I transfer this? How do you protect this? And so it's like this expanding rings into everyone to see and understand what I was seeing and understanding.
You had a powerful quote in regards to knowledge. You say knowledge is power, and through knowledge we can conquer and defeat unfounded fear to better connect our ocean and our environment, and strive to live in mutual benefit.
Yes. What sometimes we forget is that everything is very interconnected. And so one of the advantages of being on the island, it has created a micro-continent, right? I did a presentation called, and we're in an island in this universe. So what happens on the island happens on a continent. What happened on the continent happened on all the other continents. What happened on the planet, it's the same thing. And I make these examples. For example, we talk a lot about garbage. Oh, I'm throwing away something. It's like, away? Where does it go? Because it doesn't go anywhere. It stays on the island. It stays on the continent. I mean, some continents ship it to other people, poorest countries, and it stays on this planet. So anything that we have created that is disposable, every single piece of plastic, every single thing that we go, oh, I don't need this anymore, I'm going to throw it away. Well, it just goes somewhere else. But I think the advantage of being on the island is seen as really, if I develop over land and I destroy the land over the land, it will go through the rocks, which will travel into the cave and will travel with the water to the mangroves, and then from the mangroves into the ocean. And everyone and everything in that flow will be affected. The pine forest, the water in the cave, so the fresh drinking water for us, the water that arrives at the entrance of the caves, which will destroy the mangroves, so the coastline, again, us. The fish that depends on the nutrients, the corals, and ultimately all the other animals that then make the ocean safe. And for the most part, the Bahamas are a fishing country. So you destroy here, destroys here, goes here, and destroys your ocean. Well, now you also destroy your fishing industry. So if you don't want to do it from a concept point of view, do it from a selfish point of view. You need your fresh water, and you need your income, you need your food.
Have you seen a change in the past 26 years in regards to the environment? And I mean, I know it's protected now, and thanks to you and your action in that part.
Sharks are protected. The sharks are protected, and we have certain areas that are called MPAs, marine protected areas, so specific areas that are set aside. But I've seen a change, unfortunately, for downward, which is because we are affected. Water flows through everything. So whatever happens, even if this is protected, but whatever happens around here will still affect that. Most of the changes I've noticed, the most dramatic ones are out in the oceans, which are not only specific to the Bahamas, and the corals. Everybody, if you talk about ocean acidifications, coral diseases, we're losing the reef. And I can tell from, not even 20 years ago, but 10 years ago, lived on this reef for 26 years. I know the coral heads. I can swim around and know which coral head. You can plop me in the middle of on the 3 mile stretch, and I can descend on the ocean floor and I can tell you where I am. And it's my knowledge, my dive site fidelity. And I can recognize the coral heads and I can see their health. I've seen fluctuation in fish, went up, went down. Now there's some comebacks. So the sharks, for the most, have remained a pretty healthy population because they're protected and because the Bahamas in the 1980s forbid both longlining and drift nets, which are two of the most lethal fishing techniques ever used.
Let's talk about sharks now. I think for Australian, that's kind of
I know.
The big bag wolf. Or we've got a very different connection. It depends on people with shark. But tell us, you've got a unique connection with the shark. I mean, when I discovered your videos, I saw someone who's got a connection with a pet. Well, and I would say, you pet a shark. You've got that special, and they recognize you, or they seem to recognize you. Can you educate us on sharks? I know it's it could take a day, but can you tell us how you connect and how can you put a shark at the vertical like that?
So the first thing that I try to educate or share with people is when we say the word shark. There's even for the people that really love sharks and study sharks, there's sometimes a limited view of what the word entails, and we forget there's a 520 plus 2 species of sharks out there. So what I do is specific to the Caribbean reef shark, which is an interaction based on the location where I am, the type of shark that I'm working with, and I'm a very firm believer that one size does not fit all. So it's not that because I have established this relationship with Caribbean reef sharks out here in the Bahamas, I go around the world and say, I'm just going to go to South Africa and try to, interact with a great white the same way. Absolutely not. I think for every environment, you'll have a different disposition. For every animal, you need to have a different disposition. So what I have established here, it's a relationship. From the 25 years that I've been in the same spot, working with these animals, connecting with these animals, and out of these connections and what I do with these animals, some of them are trusting me. It's a matter of trust to come into my lap and allow me to pet them. And they can decide to stay as little as they want, as long as they want. I can't force them. They're about 2 meters long, about 8.10 feet long. So they're like big girls, 175 pounds up to 200 pounds of animal. And what they do is they come into my lap, rest on my legs. I gently pet them. And then, yes, in the old times, I used to put them on vertical. I kind of stopped doing that in the last few years. But it is a mutual relationship. There's a day where I go out there and they don't want to interact, and we interact on their terms, not on my forceful terms.
What are you thinking when you're down there with the sharks? What are you thinking about? Safety? Are you thinking about or when you put your hand in a shark's mouth and take up those hooks?
So the safety comes way before I go in the water, and it's about all the steps. But as a diver, and as a cave diver especially, is a preparation. Is having the right gear. Is making sure that the gear works. Is making sure that I feel good for that day, and I feel like going. The other day we carried a bunch of gear to the cave. Halfway through the second transport, I decided that I was not mentally feeling to go in the cave, and off we called the dive and we stopped. So it's the same concept that applies to all the environments I'm doing. When I'm down there with them, I'm happy. And then what I do is I watch them. I let them talk to me. The sharks have their own language. It's not verbal. It's not, maybe they don't wag their tails like my dogs, but they do have body languages that we can understand spending time with them. And once I notice they're nice and relaxed or interactive, then I do my interaction, pet them, and with the hooks, again, I call it a dance. I need to convince the shark to come in and trust me, because now they have this giant hook that hurts. And I'm kind of trying to well, why don't you come in and let me remove that? And it's well, that hurts. So the animal instinct is not to sit there. But as I try to remove the hook, what the animal does is slips off my hands, and then she comes back around and allows me to try again. But all it is time, the same way you will build a relationship, not only with an animal or a pet, but also like with the human beings. But you don't go to, let's say you want to adopt a dog, you don't go to the Humane Society and pick up the dog and just, oops, come home with that. You take time also to understand the animal you're with. And that's all I'm doing, is I'm spending time with them and giving them time.
You had, I think recently, one of our surfer legend, Mick Fanning, come to see you to learn about the environment. And we know what happened when he was doing the World Championship in South Africa and his contact with shark. And you had Will Smith as well coming to see you. Can you tell us what they were looking for, and what are you teaching them, and what they can take away from your teaching?
I think what they were looking for, well, there were two different obviously backgrounds, right? Mick Fanning is by all means, being a surfer, a kite surfer, it is in certain environment a dangerous spot to be in, especially in Australia, and there's no doubts about that. It is part of being in that specific environment. If you climb Mount Everest, once you go beyond the death zone, you are in a danger zone. So when you're on the surface in an environment where there are specific predators that are surfers hunters, let's say the famous great white or a tiger shark, then you should have a fear. And Mick Fanning's fear, close encounter, was extremely close. A little bit too close for comfort. When I saw the video, I skipped a beat too. I would skip a beat too if I had a great white that kind of like slapped the board, hits the board and slaps me the tail and pulls the leash. So that was his background. Will Smith's background is maybe the one of the more general population. I'm afraid of sharks. Well, why are you afraid of sharks? I saw Jaws, or I heard that they attack people. And so it's this generalized fear that has nothing to do with a true position of vulnerability, like a surfer, a kite surfer could have, right? A possible true encounter, like a little bit of that. So they were very different individuals to deal with. But Mick Fanning, in a certain way, was easier, right? Because he's an ocean man. And he knows it and understands it. He just needed to get over just going back into connecting with the animals. What they both did is they came with a good open mind, with the desire of like, this is not right. I need to fix this. How are we going to fix it? And so they did it in progressive ways. So first you talk, and as if you follow Mick Fanning's, he did quite a lot of different steps to do that. Research, understanding, seeing the sharks from the cage, then ultimately coming here, doing the Caribbean, and going and see the tigers without the cage. So it's like many steps. With Will Smith was more like the knowledge, understanding, and rationalizing things.
Nice. Fascinating. Thank you. I just want to finish our little talk with people of the water. So I invite people to have a look at the POW nonprofit.org. Can you just quickly tell us about that? I know it's the nonprofit arm of your action.
Yes, so I've been the conservation part. I always finance it through my own work. So I work and then put quite a lot of effort into the conservation part. In January 2019, I founded a non-profit to allow me to expand this exploration, education, conservation, because it's only so far that I could reach with what I was doing. And with that, we started all projects about as the sharks are protected, I'm looking into finding out the areas where the sharks go to breed and to leave their puppies in order to protect also that area. And then furthermore, protect some of the areas like the mangroves related to the caves. So we're doing a lot of work at cataloging the caves, showing people where the cave is. Because sometimes people go, oh, there's a hole here. And they don't realize that it spans, 6 miles underneath like a whole town, for example. And so that's what the nonprofit does is it's a little startup. We're just starting, so any donation is appreciated. But what it does is allow me to expand this beyond just the little that I could do as a self-finance person.
Nice. So I invite everyone to visit pownonprofit.org. Cristina, thank you. We'll see you in the second part. Please stay with us. And
Yes.
please, Governor of the island, please keep the internet up because we want to keep Cristina a bit longer. Thank you. Nico. ¿Cómo estás, Nico?
Bien, ¿y ustedes?
Buenas tardes. In Chile, so we're traveling to Chile. So, Nico, I need to present yourself. Who are you? You're obviously a Chilean, digital artist, electronic, experimental composer, a filmmaker. And I wanted to bring you on the show because there's always a musical and art part of the show that I try to put together. And I think your music, when I was exploring your music, I just fell in love with it. I think it's so edgy, but edgy in a very positive way. It's so innovative. And we've heard you at the beginning, and we're going to hear you as well in the break in the next 5 minutes. So tell us a bit about you. Childhood in Chile. I think you're from Santiago, or no, not Santiago. Where are you from originally?
Yeah, I was born in Santiago. Now I'm living in El Monte, a small town near to Santiago.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you for inviting me to join me to this amazing moment, amazing people. Cristina, Nuno, I'm a big fan of the ocean. I'm a big fan of the surf pictures, photographers. It's a great honor to me share my music, and a great honor to connect Oli, and thank you for this moment.
It's a pleasure. You're such a beautiful soul, seriously. All the interaction I had with you, it was a pleasure. I think people need to understand we've caught up quite a few times this week to make the live, and your music work. Unfortunately, technology sometimes doesn't go the right way, but you managed to pre-record some amazing stuff at the last minute. So that's it. So tell us a bit about your childhood in Chile and how you became such an amazing person after a few years.
Thank you. I got a twin brother. There's a particular in my life because being a twin brother or twin person, it's very kind of particular. I always look into my identity. To have a person looks same as you is very sometimes hard. And with art, through art, I came to I try to find myself through art, through music, to connect with myself first of all. And as a child, always I'm a big fan of old music, Beatles, Pink Floyd, pop music, electronic music, all kind of music. And as a child, I always tried to work in music industry. More adult, I studied journalism, and to journalism, I started to make a documentary career. And then I work with some great artists in Chile, musicians, and I don't know. That's
cool. That's good. And you released recently, I think, your album as well, which is on Spotify for everyone. You've got a strong link to Australia because you've got an aunt and 3 cousins, I think, in Melbourne, and you released. And your production company is in Australia as well, is that?
No, Merkava Music, a label from Australia, released a song in a compilation in January of this year. And I always love Australia. I always have this connection with your people. My family, part of my family lived there. I always have a feeling. I don't know why you connect with my music, but I always have a feeling with Australia. I don't know,
Nice.
connection, deep connection.
I'll
And
tell you how I found out about you, but that's my secret. But I connected straight away. And can you tell us a bit about your inspiration? You talked about the ocean, and it's a big theme for you. I'd like to talk as well about your dedication to rescue and keep indigenous tradition alive, and that is coming through your music as well. But you've done so. I think you've got a project for with the Rapa Nui language from Easter Island. And you've done a song with the Mapuche. Is that Mapuche language and Shipibo language as well? Can you tell us the connection between nature and between indigenous culture as well?
Yeah, through documentaries, I connect with indigenous people, Mapuche. I made a TV documentary from musicians, and one of the chapters is from Mapuche. And through that time, I felt a deep connection with indigenous people. I learned so much about the connection with Earth, and and everything is connected, like Cristina says before. And from this moment, I felt like a mission to share the culture from indigenous people. A few years ago, with my wife, we made a festival, film festival, America Indígena, it calls, and always we try to put in the table problems or I don't know what to say, but the culture, share the culture with para que no se pierda. I don't know what to say.
So that it's not lost. Yeah.
Yeah. Your Spanish is
it's like a bicycle. When you get on it, you know when you get on it, it comes back.
My English is not so well. I
it's
always
perfect.
Nah.
Hey, I love what you said. There's a quote you when we caught up. You say making music is a sacred gift from heaven.
Yeah, I'm not considered a musician like this with this word, because I always work with the great musicians. I respect the academy musicians, but my connection with music is from, I don't know, the ether. It's kind of magic that happens when I compose music, because I study some months piano. I start to learn to read music, and I don't know, some things doesn't work for me, the structures. I try to connect with the instrument to feel it, just feel it. And that's my music, because that I think my music is experiment. I don't know, because maybe I don't know what note I'm playing. It's just a feeling.
Nice. And final question for you before we listen and see you again playing. For you, you say mountains speak. Have you had any mystical vision?
Yeah. That's a good question. Yeah, through plant medicines, I connect with the nature in different ways that normal people connect. I don't know if one of you have proved some medical plants like peyote or mushrooms. I don't know.
Mushrooms.
And yeah, and
To consume
through
with
that,
moderation, please, the viewers.
yeah, always, please. And through that experience, I felt a deep connection with nature, with mountains, the skies, the galaxies, the ocean. I'm a person to very sensitive about nature.
Well, I'm looking forward to come to see you in Chile, and so that we can see the mountain and the stars together.
Yeah, Cordillera de los Andes. It's so beautiful.
Okay, it's an invite. Thank you. I'll save a bit of money and I'll come to see you. Thanks. Before we go to part two, and part two is the opportunity for the audience to ask questions. We're gonna have some questions pre-recorded as well from Haiti. Haiti is still in the Rockies near British Columbia, and she hasn't connected yet, so that means she doesn't have a reception connection. Sorry, but that's okay. We've got pre-recorded question for you, Cristina, Nuno, and Nico. Craig, can you take it away with a break from Nico's music? Second part, purpose and age, and we'll try to see how the age is for our guests. Ricky Gervais said, being on the edge isn't as safe, but the view is better. So to kick off the question, Craig, can you take it away? I'd love to introduce you before to Helly. So Helly unfortunately can't join us, but she's a rock climber, a mountaineer. She's also an adventurer. I caught up with her early on this week, and we had a lovely hour that would be published next week. And she asked us some questions to each of the guests. So Craig, would you like to start with the first question? And I think it's for Cristina. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Cristina and Nuno and Nico and Ollie. And I hope that you guys have been having an amazing conversation so far. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be able to ask you guys a couple of questions. It was so inspiring looking through your profiles and learning about you all. Really incredible work that everybody does. So just a couple of questions for you. To start with Cristina. Cristina, did you help in the design of the protection that you wear while working with sharks? And if so, was there a trial and error process? I'm very curious about that because, here the protection, it's almost like an armor chainmail underwater. It looks really beautiful. So I'd love to learn more about that.
Sue.
No, I didn't. The chainmail was there way, way, way before my time. Actually, the first two that worked on the chainmail were two Australians, Ron and Valerie Taylor.
Okay.
They were the first two, and they came up with the idea of the chainmail. Now, the chainmail glove was born for the butchers, right? You hold on to the meat with your hand, you have the knife in this hand, you cut, and they used to wear the chainmail on this one. But the whole suit was created so there were, Ron and Valerie were at the time videographer, adventurers, ocean people, and they wanted something so they could be in the middle of the ocean filming, holding onto the camera without having to worry about, especially as they were filming active sharks, maybe feeding on bait balls of fish and things like that, not having to worry about just looking everywhere where the animals will come from. Funny story is when the first suit came in, that was commissioned, it came in for Ron to wear, but it came in too small. So the first person to ever test the suit was Valerie. Valerie's currently still alive, and she was the first one to actually test the chainmail suit with the blue sharks by inciting them to bite, and she will put a fish here and incite in the shark just to bite on the suit. The suit prevents from accidental bites from medium-sized sharks, so Caribbean ray sharks, blue sharks, things like that. Prevents both the tooth from going in and also spreads out the pressure. So most of the shark bites are accidental, even when I interact with them. It will feel like if you grab your arm and you just do this with your hand and then release, that is more or less what I feel. And then sometimes the tooth gets in, so I get like a little cuts on fingertips here and there.
But the color of the suit is the same color of the sharks, isn't it? Is it a purpose there?
No, it's a stainless steel suit. It's the best stainless steel I've ever seen in my life. It's stainless steel. It's actually handmade. There's a machine that makes the mail, but then it's actually put together, handmade. And if I knew that you had a question, I actually have the suit in my closet. But one of the most amazing things is you put on this metal thing and you can still, it's like, I call it fluid metal. Because you can have the glove on and you can still bend your hand and move your arms and it just fits on your body. It's a little bit cumbersome on the surface. It's basically, being like a sea lion and then finally you're going to flop yourself to the water when you're in the water. It actually feels much better. But I only use it with the sharks when I specifically work with the Caribbean ray shark in that environment. When I dive, I've dived with bull sharks, tigers, great hammerheads, oceanic white-tip, blue makos, I don't wear the suit, not because I do not do the specific interaction.
Craig, I think there's the question continues as well for Cristina, if you want to play.
And then just also, would you say that most animals that humans consider scary or dangerous are largely just misunderstood? Could you draw a parallel with your understanding and education about the common misunderstandings about sharks and how wolves are viewed and treated in North America? Wolves, in terms of the big bad wolf, is I think a big common misconception that a lot of people have here in North America. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I think you talked about it a bit early on, but
yes, so absolutely. I think what it is that people have misconceptions brought on maybe by either a cultural issue or sometimes a perpetrated kind of like image. They come up with this image, and we keep repeating that so much into our culture that we even don't realize that we keep putting that into our repetition. So I think most of the misconceptions are brought on by lack of knowledge, the disregard of wanting to keep and wanting to know. I usually make comparison from sharks and pit bulls as I adopt pit bulls, but wolves will do the same because I have a soft spot for wolves. Is that we have these kind of like narrow perception of the animal. We usually hear only about the emphasized negative activity of this animal. I was explaining to someone, I said, imagine if someone is attacked by a shark, and I'm not taking away from the attack. It's terrible. And we give them 3 minutes to talk about this attack. But then we also give 3 minutes to everyone that on the same day was on the same beach, in the same ocean, on the same stretch, in the same area, swimming, that came out of the water. So there's one attack, and then there's all these people that were in the water in the same 24 hours, and we give them 3 minutes as well. How many hours will these people have to say, no, I was in the water, nothing happened. I was in the water, nothing happened. But how much time does the media give to the attack, and how much time does it give actually to everyday person, Nuno, that goes in the water every day, goes, yeah, today I went kite surfing. Yeah, today I went kite surfing. Same as make funny. Years and years and years and years of surfing. He became even more known in the rest of the world, even to the non-surfers, because of the sharks. So sometimes it's also how things are portrayed. If I keep putting it there, it's the only thing it's like, oh yeah, well, that's what always happens, because that's what I always hear about. So there are misconceptions. One of the things is I tell people is we need to start understanding the animals. And we need also to start understanding that is their world as much as ours. And especially with an expanding population, I believe we are expanding too much as we enlarge into all these environments without finding more of a better balance. The one I learned in Africa. Yeah, the animals are here, I just have to pay attention to it, and it's their territory. I think we are bound to have more incidents and more bad wolves highlighted because we are a little bit jealous, right? We're kind of like, oh, this is my space, this is a space of my food, this is a space of the food for my food, and you just, God forbid something else comes in and wants to eat one of my cows.
And Nuno, amazing feats that you've accomplished, really, really cool stuff. I want to know, when and how did you realize you could turn your passion into a career? I want to know, did that happen when you were extremely young and you just knew that that's something that you could do as your job, or how did that evolve anyways? And how do you formulate your next goals in your sport? Do you think about your goals in terms of the size of a wave, or are you thinking about a certain location? I'm curious in how that process works for you.
So Nuno, before you fall asleep on us.
No. That's. It seems like every time it's my time to speak, some people come here, but no, they're like, no. But okay, when I started, it's quite funny. I'm an accountant. I study accountancy, and people sometimes say, "What the hell? Radical kite surfer accountancy doesn't go well." But yeah, I start to work. When I started to surf, I saw surfing like a passion, like a lifestyle. But I was not seeing myself being a surf instructor or something like that. When I saw kite surfing, I saw the potential of the business, and then I started to give lessons. As soon as I also start to kite. And as I was also working in an office, in an accounting office, being in a commercial, I was not so much inside a little box every day. That would be crazy from me. There was a point in my life that I started to develop that business, that kitesurfing business, and in a point that in a point that I didn't need more the accountancy job, and just follow up my dream of being more outside, more on nature, more on the ocean, and it became my lifestyle, and gladly it was like that.
How do you, the second part of our question is around how do you make your next goal? What's next? Tell us, is there anything you want to tell us today, or what's?
The next goal?
Yeah, how do you foresee that? How do you project the next stuff you're going to do?
Yeah, I already started doing it. This winter, my goal was to do the biggest jump ever in kite surfing in Nazaré. I made for now, I set 24 meters high on a jump. Gladly, I got a good sponsor also to start that project.
Yeah.
And my goal is to increase that number, and just keeping doing radical stuff.
Nice. We'll follow you. Craig, next question, please.
And Nico, amazing music, and I just learned that you have done a lot of music in the indigenous realm, and drawing inspiration from different indigenous cultures around Latin America, which is so cool to hear. My question is, what do you hope your listeners take away from your music? I really love how you draw inspiration from your natural landscapes and environments too. It's the natural soundscapes. It's super beautiful. I'm definitely a big new fan, and we'll be sharing your work. So thank you so much. And that's all. So hope to connect with you all at some point, and enjoy the rest of the program. Thanks.
Thank you, Hailey. Such a beautiful person, isn't it? I think I want to share a state of light through music. The music that I channel came from, in some way, to heal some aspect of my life, and if people can connect with that frequency, I think is mission accomplished.
Nice. Do we have any question, Joe, from anyone? If not, I just got one for everyone. Is what's the age for you? What is the definition of being on the edge? Yes.
I can start.
Yes, Cristina.
Well, we discussed this before. As someone that does what I do, I don't consider myself at the edge. I'd actually, in the past, thought about, it's like, wow, I conduct pretty boring life, 26 years on the same island, wake up in the morning, walk the dogs, go running, go do, I'll go working with the sharks, go cave exploring, found a hole in the ground. And it just, because it's become so part of what I am and what I do. And in a certain way, I'm surrounded by this little pocket of people that obviously share the same passions, and I connect with this kind of people. Then I come home and I do my yoga and, eat dinner. By 9 p.m. I crash because the next morning I'm up. So I never saw myself as being on the edge. I always thought I think that Nuno is at the edge watching him 24 meters jump. I mean, I have problems with heights, so I don't see myself, taking off a wave. So I don't know if this is the same for everyone else. It's just really funny, but I see other people at the edge of creativity, right, for Nico, or at the edge for Nuno, because it's amazing physical feat. I mean, what kind of body strength you have to not only catch the wave, but also jump up and stay up and land without hurting. So those are all the edges. It can be the people that run for me the 100 miles marathon through the desert. I never thought myself of being at the edge.
Interesting. Nico?
I have to say, I think being on the edge is when you feel completely alive. It's when your focus, it's in that moment, you are in the present. You're not thinking about the future, you're not thinking about the past, you are there. You must be there. There's no other option. You are so focused that you are completely alive in that moment. That's why it's so addicting. I believe for sure that Cristina, when he's completely with the sharks, she feels every moment, like each second, she's focused on that moment, and that's why she's doing it for 26 years. When people say it's boring, no, it's boring. She's living life. Most of people have a job, go to office, do the same routine every time, only thinking what they should done or what they're going to do in the future, and never focus in the present. They're living, unfortunately, they are living a life by like a robot, like just doing all the same routine.
It's nice teaching on chess. Thank you, Nuno. This is there's such a connection with what you're doing, and you both talk about yoga and practicing that and bringing the practice into your action as well, which is so inspiring. And I'm practicing yoga, so I'm on a good start. I just need to with yoga you can go to, you can enter in meditation. Just wait a second, let's see. Their party time there. I mean, it's it's 1:20 in the morning.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's 1:30 and it's like, I believe it's like Nico, when he's doing his music, he's completely focused on that moment. And and when you are present, that's when you feel more happiness. Happiness comes when you are it's called the power of now. When you are there in that moment, you are happy. That's true happiness. And that's it.
Nico?
I think everybody.
Yeah, I think Nuno let's say the definition, being here now, right here, right now, and being on the edge for me, I think is being an artist in Chile, in Latin America, is very difficult to be. I have to work in so many things, so many projects. Sometimes I don't sleep, but the connection through my art is maybe salvation is the word, maybe. The art saves me. Because being in Chile, it's very difficult to be an artist. More the art that I do, the music that I do, it's like a experimental project, not a commercial stuff, I think this is the age for me.
Nice. I've got one last question from me. Heli defined as a climber, you have a different type of fun. If you scale it, you've got fun 1, fun 2, fun 3. I don't know if you've heard of that. Fun one is when, you're in the moment, you're enjoying, everything goes well, you're doing the climb or you're doing, you're with the shark. Fun two is like, it's not great, but, and fun three is when you're absolutely not enjoying it and everything goes wrong. Have you had ever these moments, or what's the dance between 1, 2, 3, all the scales?
I've had all three, the 1, 2, 3. I think it is normal to have the 1, 2, 3. And I think sometimes without the 3, you can't have the 1. So they're like building blocks is actually not 1, 2, 3. Sometimes is 3, 2, 1. Right? So it's progressive learning. But if the fun comes when you have in a certain way, master quite a lot of the elements that then make the situation the situation is dangerous, but what we're trying to do is mitigate the dangers that we're facing, right? And so in order to mitigate them, you need to understand and take some steps. Once you have the mitigation within yourself, then comes fun 1. But if you don't have that, then you're going into an environment where you're only and always going to be fun 3. So the mishaps and the things that happen done within the level of your training are the one that then you're like, oh, wow, today was, this happened and that happened. And maybe it's not a fun 3, it's more like a fun 2. But then when you master that, then it takes you back and it's like, yeah, okay, today is fun 1 because I already know how to deal with this and I know how to deal with that. And if that happens, I can still make it a fun 1 or a fun 2 because I took my time and I took the steps. But definitely, I do believe that anyone that is at these levels has the, 1, 2, 3, 4.
I agree. I agree completely. You have to have all levels. You only know that you are in level 1 when you experience all the others. It's a question of balancing. That makes completely sense. Yeah, there's some days that are not so good. But the things usually it's the expecting. When you expect something to happen, you're already putting too much pressure on it. But if you don't expect nothing, things go much better. So yeah, levels. As Cristina said, level 3 has to exist so you can know what's level 1.
And you can enjoy level 1 better. Of course. Yeah. Nico?
I don't know what to say. Living without expectation. I think this is the definition.
Cool.
Without labels.
Well, I don't think we've got a question from the audience, and we're actually running maybe all the time. But what I would like to do is, before we close and we hear your music again, Nico, I want to thank you so much. I want to thank Kate Beth first and you can find Kate Beth Fabry _K8 for the art, the piece of art that was the illustration and the beginning of this adventure. I want to thank Cristina, Nuno, Nico, Haley for your time, for being so nice. And it's what I say to my crew as well, is every time I connect with people like you, or every time I connect with people for that show, they're amazingly nice. And I'm so surprised, and I love connecting with you. So thank you so much for your time. I wish you all the best in your adventure and in your causes as well, and in your music. My crew, magician Greg, thank you so much. Joe and newly a member Karen, thank you. Next month we are coming to Australia with another hopefully amazing show. Stay tuned. And that's it. Thank you. Craig, take it away with the music.
Thank you.